Hi, it's me again, and I don't often talk to you about live sport on this channel, do I? Because, us being TV licence free here, we can't really watch any live sport. But I do like the Formula One. So I was around a mate's house on Sunday watching the race. Quite the fan of Formula One. But I don't have any preference between Max or Lewis. I'm not bothered either way who won that. I'm a fan of the sport straight down the middle. But as a fan of the sport, it's been quite hard to watch this season, hasn't it? It's been some really dodgy calls, and that sort of came all out, didn't it, on this weekend's race. So I thought we could have a bit of a chat about it, because the main bit for me where it all started was the first lap. And Max overtook Lewis, kept it between the lines, and Lewis buggered off into the distance after cutting the corner. How did he not have to give that place back? And they say he what was it they said over the radio? They said he'd given back his advantage by the end of the first lap. But I just rewatched the race, and I didn't see that. It's just a mess. And Max said it all, didn't he? When he came back on the radio after being told that he's not going to give the place back. And he just went, yeah, it's typical of this season, really, didn't he? Which I thought was quite good. But the other problem I've got with this weekend's race was how often the team bosses were going crying to teacher. Toto was the best one for it. When the virtual safety car came out, was it Giovinazzi parked on just off the track, but he was still sort of on the racing line exit, wasn't he? And Toto got on to race director Michael Massey, and he said, please, no safety car. What business is that of yours, Toto? Why are you talking about it? It's none of your business. He's race director. If he wants to put one out because it's safe, he should be able to. Stop going crying to teacher. And Toto was doing this all through the whole race, wasn't he? It was an absolute nightmare. Absolute nightmare. At the end, he's saying, this isn't right. Don't do this, don't do that. Keep your mouth shut. What's wrong with you, Toto? You don't run the sport. There's good losers and there's bad losers. And this weekend, Toto, you proved that you're a bad loser, didn't you? And I'm not saying that the Red Bull team haven't been bad losers either, because of course they have. But Toto was out of control this weekend, wasn't he? But let's take a look at a few of these headlines, because some of them are quite interesting. So you can see here on a tweet from Formula One after the race, Mercedes have protested against the classification established at the end of the competition related to breaches of articles 48.8 and 48.12 of the sporting regulations, which is about overtaking under the safety car, which he did briefly, but they're back and forth warming brakes up. That got thrown out. And then about the restart procedure with the lapped cars overtaking and everything. And Massey was a mess, wasn't he? First he said lapped cars aren't going to overtake, and then Christian Horner got on the radio to him and said you only need one racing lap, let them overtake. And then he did, and as soon as he said lapped cars can overtake, the race restarted again pretty quickly, didn't it? So it was a mess. It was a complete mess how it was run, and Massey has been a nightmare all season. There's been no consistency with the calls that he's done at all season. He's been an absolute mess. But the team boss is running to teacher. It's a bit wrong and all, wasn't it? What do you think? Horner feels Mercedes protests were a little bit desperate. Twice protesting after the season-ending Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, Christian Horner says it all felt a little bit desperate from Red Bull's rivals Mercedes. It did come across as desperate. It really did. And I know there's a lot of money at stake and everything with this, and a lot of prestige at stake. But let's not forget, Mercedes still won the Constructors, which is where the money is for them. That's where the money is for them. The teams care about the Constructors. It's only really the drivers that care too much about the Drivers' Championship, isn't it? It obviously felt a little bit desperate, said Horner. We didn't want it to finish in front of the stewards. Yeah, I agree. They have been great competitors this year, and Lewis has been a phenomenal driver. Again, agreed. Magnanimous in victory from Christian there. It's had its moments, it's been tense, it's been tough, but we are delighted with the outcome, obviously, and very proud of Max, obviously. He has been phenomenal all year. He has been phenomenal all year. One of the funniest part of it's to come out of it from the weekend, though, which really cheered me up, was George Russell. Look, this is unacceptable. Lewis Hamilton's new Mercedes teammate, George Russell, fumes after Max Verstappen steals the title. So George put a tweet out. Let's see if we can find the tweet on here for you. Yes, you can see here, he tweeted, "This is unacceptable. Max is an absolutely fantastic driver who has had an incredible season, and I have nothing but huge respect for him. But what just happened is absolutely unacceptable. I cannot believe what we've just seen." Now, is that a completely unbiased opinion of a professional racing driver who knows a lot more about the sport than I could ever know? Or is that the opinion of somebody who's going to be driving for Mercedes next year and is already towing the party line before he's even put the uniform on? Come on, George, keep your mouth shut, mate. You're not winning any fans there. But Lewis did look a bit not himself, shall we say, after the race. He didn't park up in his normal spot where he's supposed to put the second place car, and he ran away a bit and didn't talk to anybody. And the missus is sitting there and she's going, oh, he's a bad loser, he's a bad loser. I get it. You've got to be absolutely gutted to lose that when you were walking it, to lose that on the last lap. It all went against you. But he didn't look happy, did he? And now we've got these headlines, look. We'll see about next year. Lewis Hamilton hints he might not return for next F1 season in subtle retirement nod. When the missus picked up on this, she was watching it with me. Not a big F1 fan, and she's not a Lewis fan. She doesn't like Lewis Hamilton at all. And when he was doing the interviews before the podium, you know, when they just get out of the car and they do the interviews with Jenson Button, it was, wasn't it? And he was kind of hinting at it, and she said he's going to retire. He won't race next year. He's going to retire. Even she smelt that. So that could be interesting. Who would get Lewis's seat if he did retire? It's interesting, isn't it? After the race, Hamilton said, a big congratulations to Max and his team. I think we did an amazing job this year. My team worked so hard this whole year. It's been the most difficult of seasons. I've felt great in the car in the past couple of months. We're still in the pandemic and I just want everyone to stay safe and spend Christmas with their families. We'll see about next year. So I think they're reading a bit too much into that. I think he's just down a bit and he's just on the floor and he don't know what to say. I think he'll be back next year. But if he did retire, who would get the seat? Because Lando's tied up in his contract with McLaren, although he can get out of contracts, can't he? But would they have... I can't see him having Lando and George in the same team. So I don't know. Be interesting, wouldn't it? Could they pull Bottas back? Bottas has done nothing, has he, in 5 years in that car? I reckon it would be Sebastian Vettel. I reckon they'll get Vettel in to drive that Merc if Lewis does go, you know. I can see it, can't you? Well, one thing that stood out for me in the race, and I don't know if you're the same, whether you watched it live or you watched the highlights or you don't even care about Formula One. If that's the case, I don't know what you're watching this video for. Well, one of the bits that stood out for me was Sergio Perez. I've never liked him. I've never been a fan. I've always thought he was an underachiever and just another journeyman. But that fight he put up with Lewis, I was just watching the clock tick down in the corner to how far back Max was. And what did he click off there? 6-7 seconds. He re-overtook Lewis twice. Amazing, amazing work from Sergio. Can you believe that? Did you see that battle? Have a look. You'll find it on the highlights on YouTube. Have a look at that battle. It's blooming amazing. He's a newfound respect for Sergio. I really do. And that's what Red Bull have needed all that time, haven't they? When they've gone through Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon and they just couldn't quite cut it. But Sergio earned his money there and his seat's quite safe for a while now thanks to that, isn't it? But that was quality. I haven't seen racing that good for a while. And what happened during that racing? Lewis got on the radio and said, it's getting a bit dangerous now. And then Toto went and told Teacher that it's getting a bit dangerous. And he was told, this is motor racing. Because it is, that's what we want to see, isn't it? That's the whole point. It's the whole reason I watch the sport is to see stuff like that. It was fantastic racing. But Toto and Lewis go and tell Teacher. It's not right, is it? Stop moaning and whining so much. I hate all of that. It's a race. Race the car. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting race. Not a lot happened through a lot of the race, really, did it? It wasn't like last week when it was amazing. It's just endless safety cars and stuff. But I didn't see it happening. I didn't see that happening at all. Halfway through the race, I thought, well, that's it. Lewis is just going to trot off into the distance, and it's over now. Isn't it? I didn't see that coming. There was always the risk of the safety car. I don't know why Lewis didn't stop and have his tyres changed. But that's the team's call, isn't it? Not Lewis's. So it was interesting. But I think at the end of the day, I think the right man won. Because he should have already have wrapped that title up, should Max. But for a few incidents earlier in the year, which are also up for debate, I guess, aren't they? But I think in the end, the right man won. And it's good for the sport. As a fan of the sport itself, it's great for the sport to have a new champion and knock King Lewis off his perch for a year. Maybe he'll be back next year. Maybe he won't win it again next year. Who knows? But that's interesting. And that's sport, isn't it? And I think for the sport, the best thing was Max winning it, you know? I really do. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Maybe we'll have a bit of a chat about it. We don't often talk about sport on this channel, do we? But I do like a bit of Formula One. And next year, I'll be back round my mate's house watching it again. That'd be good, wouldn't it? So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. We'll have a chat about it. And I will see you in another video again soon. Thanks for watching.